Welcome to Academy.com. In statistics and econometrics, let us discuss about probability of multiple events. What is multiple events? Multiple events probability definition. Let's dive right into definition of multiple event probabilities and when they occur. The probability of multiple events measure the likelihood that two or more events occur at the same time. Single event is single occurrence. For multiple events, measures of the likelihood that two or more events occur at the same time. We sometimes look out for the probability of when one or two outcomes happen and whether these outcomes overlap each other. The probability will depend on an important factor, whether the multiple events are independent or not and whether they are mutually exclusive. First one, dependent events, also known as conditional events, are events where a given event's outcomes are affected by the remaining events. That means you are selecting something by calculating probability. That probability is affected with the other outcomes also. Independent events are events where one event outcomes are not affected by the rest of the events outcomes. That means each are individual. There are some examples of events that are dependent and independent of each other. Here, dependent events, drawing two balls consecutively from the same bag. That means if you are taking one ball from the bag, it will not affect with other balls in the bag. But here dependent event is drawing two balls consequently from the same bag. That means if the event happening, the selecting of one ball is affected by the other balls in the bag. Independent event is finding one ball each from two bags. This is independent event because selecting one ball from one bag will not affect the selecting one more ball from the other bag. It will not affect. That means one event cannot affect the other event because the bags are separate. For dependent event, picking two cards without replacement. This is a dependent event. Independent is picking a card and rolling a die. Buying more lottery tickets to win the lottery is dependent event because you are buying more lottery tickets, it's more chances to win. But independent event, winning the lottery and seeing your favorite show on a streaming platform. This is independent event example. Events can also be mutually exclusive. These are events where they can never happen simultaneously. Some examples of mutually exclusive are the chances of turning left or right at the same time. Ace and king cards from a deck are also mutually exclusive. Now, let us discuss further about rules of addition for non-mutually exclusive events. Two events A and B are not mutually exclusive if the occurrence of A does not affect the occurrence of B, that vice versa, then we can say P of probability of A or B, which is equal P of A plus or means plus here P of B minus P of A and B. This is the formula for P of A or B is P of A plus P of B minus P of A and B. Look at here. For this, we can explain in Venn diagram. Look at this. here event A, event B, A and B here, A and B. Next, rule of addition for mutually exclusive events. Here, two events A and B are mutually exclusive if the occurrence of A precludes the occurrence of B and vice versa. That is, it won't affect. Mutually exclusive event means one is not affect the other event. That means P of A and B, P of A and B is equal P of A plus P of B. That means we can show in Venn diagram like A, B. Since here, since P of A and B is equal to 0. A, next one, rule of multiplication for dependent events. Here, two events are dependent if the occurrence of one is connected in some way with the occurrence of the other. That means one event is connected and happens with respect to the other event also. Then the joint probability of A and B is P of A and B is equal P of A into P of B with respect to A happen. This reads like the probability that both events A and B will take place equal the probability of event A times the probability of the event B when the event A has already occurred. It means probability of B when the probability of A is already occurred. Then we can say, now here conditional probability, you can say P of B over A, which means conditional probability of B conditional probability of B given that A has already occurred, given that A has already occurred. Then therefore you can say and P of A and B is equal, we can say P of B and A, that is terms changed. Of course, fourth one, rule of multiplication for independent events. Two events A and B are independent if the occurrence of A is not connected in any way to the occurrence of B. That is, here you can say P of A and B is equal P of A into P of B, since P of P over A is equal to P of B. Here this is a rule of multiplication for independent events. These four rules is important to remember. So far we have done about dependent events and independent events and its examples. We have done. Please subscribe our YouTube channel.